how do we replace a flat tire? This one here is flat, and you can tell that the driver actually has driven a little bit on this flat tire because of this line. Right now, let's get our gear so we can replace this tire. So let's open the trunk in this car. And this is 2011 Nissan Altima. So you can open the trunk with this button here. All you have to do is to press it down. You heard? And the trunk just opened up.
Or you can just open the trunk with the key fob.
And let's find our gear.
Step 1 of 15.
Here is where our spare tire is located. So here all you have to do is to remove this. Let's take it out. On the side here, you have your jack. This jack works along with the wrench. So you actually just put the wrench on it.
Step 2.
Let's talk about the spare tire a little bit. So when you remove the spare tire from your trunk, it has to be inflated to 60 psi as it is stated on the tire. And if you've been driving your car with this tire in your trunk for some good amount of time, you bet that this is no longer 60 psi. That's why it is very important that you always have some kind of pump with you where you can inflate this tire to appropriate pressure. If you don't have that pump, you will need some assistance from somebody else who has the pump. This kind of pump, just a regular bicycle pump, this is what I use. But if you don't like pumping manually, like with this you will have to, see, you also have something like this. This is an electric pump that can inflate your tires for you. Now let's take a look. Does this tire have enough pressure? I have brought 3 different gauges in here that will allow us to measure it. So let's start with the most fancy one. This is only a few dollars anyhow, but it's very good. See, it has this reset button here. You can reset. I'll show you how you reset it. So first thing first, let's remove the cup right from here. Now once you got this cup removed, place it somewhere so you don't lose it, right? And then plug this right in here and look at the gauge meter. Okay, I plugged it in, see? And it measured. It says 35 psi, barely half of required pressure. So you can reset it with this button, see, look. And you can measure again if you want to. Put it in here and push it in. See, 35, not good. We need 60. So you can put it here and you can reset it if you need to. Now here's one that is cheaper. It doesn't reset, so it measures while you put it in. Push it in here on the valve and then it shows you, right? But if you give it an angle, see, that's what happens. Just push it in there and then it shows you 35 psi. And then it resets itself once you're done with it. And the least expensive one, this one here, this is probably about $1.99. Put it in the valve and then look. Make sure that you put it straight so it doesn't really make that hissy sound, or you will get an incorrect measurement. So one more time. Okay, and then let's read it. See, you have 4 bars in between. So this is, like a little more than 35 psi, almost 40. Because if you pull it out, and you have different measuring units on this one. But if you pull it out, you see 40 right in here. See? All right. So this is the best one. I like this one the most. We need more pressure.
Step 3 of
So
15.
all you gotta do is to get this pump. So you have 2 tips in here for different type of valves, right? So this is a Schrader tip and we'll use it with this tire. And this tip is for Presta valves that can be used with some bicycles. Virtually all cars, motorcycles, and most bicycles used the Schrader valve. So all you have to do, you put it in there like that, see? Okay, so you push it in, you're gonna hear a hiss, and then you use this yellow lever to lock it in place, look. So push it in, lock it in place with the yellow thing. Now it's locked in place. Take a look again. To remove it, just put it in here, pull it out. One more time, push it in here, in place, like I just did. Lock it with the yellow lever. Now it's locked. And now, the good thing about this pump is that it has its own gauge. It shows you right in here, in its dusty little screen, that you have a little over 30 psi. So I'm pumping now. Alright, so now you can see I increased the pressure by 15 psi. And now, lastly, let's take a look how much time will it take to use the electric pump to get the remaining 10 psi. So let's remove it. Now, this particular unit can be used or powered by two things. Look, it can be powered by 110 volt, right? So regular plug. Or it can be powered by the regular
12-volt power outlet in your car.
As you can see on this diagram, this electric air pump is compatible with the 12-volt power outlet, 110-volt power outlet, and it can inflate tires up to 250 psi.
So if you use the 12-volt cable, which I don't have with this pump, you just plug it right in here, and then you go to your car and you find where your 12-volt power outlet is. In this 2011 Nissan Altima, it is right in here. See that little USB power outlet? That's what's plugged in here currently, but you can easily remove it, right? And that's where you plug that other end of the cable. And it looks just like this. Your cable will end with this kind of tip. So if you were to plug this pump in here, you could use it to inflate your tires. But we are going to use different power outlet. We will use the 110 volt. And let's plug it in here. Okay, let's turn it off. See, it's an on-off button because it's very loud, as you can hear. This is on-off for the 12 volt power. So we actually want to use this. This is 110 volt switch. So turning it off. That's because it's an AC and DC current. So I plug the power cable in. Everything works. So here's the tip of this pump. So now it's locked. Let's unlock it. And now we can plug it to our tire. Same idea as with the manual pump, which I prefer. Plug it in here. See, like that. It's gonna hiss at you. And then lock it. We just locked it. And then look, here is our meter, a little dirty, disregard. You can use it to measure the PSI while the pump inflates the tire. So here's the button for 110 volt power. Turn it on. So you can see that this is very time consuming, and that is from the 110 volt power outlet. If this was running of your 12 volt power outlet, this would be even longer. So now you can remove this simply by moving this latch straight out like this and removing this quickly, because when it's hissing at you, means that the air is escaping. Lastly, it will be a good practice to confirm with another pressure gauge meter that the pump has inflated the tire to the correct pressure. Shows you 60. And then let's remove this. Also, any place that specializes in car repairs could inflate your spare tire for you. However, you should have this type of pump in your trunk at all times, because you never know when you get flat, and if your spare tire is deflated, you won't be able to use it, and you will need somebody's help to inflate this tire for you. Therefore, have one of those
So you can save yourself.
So once you put the air in and you check that you have the required 60 psi as it is stated on the tire, go ahead and put your little cup on. Okay, and now we have to find out at which portion of this car we are going to lift it. But before we do, make sure that your car is turned off, that it is on park. See? It's on park. Put the emergency brake on too, it's right there. Okay? If your car would happen to be on the incline like this, it may also be a wise idea to put a log like this one here under the wheels. See, so I'll put one here. If you don't have a log, you can put a brick or something other as sturdy. So then it protects the car from rolling down on you. If you don't have a good emergency brake, or if something went wrong with the park in your car, you can use a larger log or larger brick if you have one, and you may put it under any wheel that is not flat, or you may even put it under all three wheels. And this is not necessarily required, especially when you're on the flat surface. This garage floor is flat, so I'm not so very concerned. The car is on park with the emergency brake on. And both function well. Now, let's loosen up the wheel nuts. If you're confused which direction to turn the wrench after putting it on a wheel nut, just remember this saying. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Lefty loosey.
Loosen up all the 5 wheel nuts. Half to 1 turn of each wheel nut should be sufficient.
In some cases, it may be difficult to remove the wheel nuts, so don't be afraid to step on the wrench in order to add more pressure on it. But be careful, because the wrench may slip off of the wheel nut and can strip it off or damage it. Now, at which portion in here do I put my car jack? Well, there's a couple of ways to find out. Take a look. If you look under the car here, oftentimes the manufacturer will give you some hints where to put it. You see this little kind of like fatter thing here. This, right? You see that? So look, and also when you look, it kind of gives you this marking in here. See, this is a good indication that in between those markings is where the jack will come. Now, sometimes they also put it on the jack itself. So when I look on this jack here, I see a label with some instructions on it. It shows you where to put the jack. See? This little picture. Also, the information on how to change the wheel or how to securely place the jack under your car could be found in the car's owner's manual or in the service manual if you still have it. That's where you put your jack. So let's do it. You put it on that little notch. So take your jack here, and then see the notch is right here, exactly where that little thickening is. So that's where you put it. Pay attention to this little gap on the jack. I am pointing with my finger now. You slide it like this, right? But make sure that your turning point is facing you. Put the jack under your car. Then you're going to keep on turning this with your fingers is enough. If your fingers are not good, you can always use your wrench. So now that this is aligned and exactly what it should be, you can start cranking. So that's why you have this wrench in here. Put the wrench in here and let the fun begin. The same rule applies in here. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. And then
crank away, yay, yeah.
Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Yay, yeah.
now that the wheel nuts are loosened up, you can unscrew them to remove the wheel. If they are not coming easy by hand at this point, use the wrench to unscrew them.
Step 9 of 15. Step 7.
Now I am putting the spare tire on. If you can't fit your spare tire on, you may need to lift your car a little bit higher. Make sure that the air valve is on the outside and that you can see it. I am not tightening the wheel nuts yet. I am giving them a snug twist, and I will tighten them once the car jack is removed and the wheel is on the ground.
Remember that the max allowable speed on a donut-type spare tire is 50 miles per hour, or 80 kilometers per hour, as it is stated on the tire.
Now, lower the car down.
Step 12 of
Lefty loosey. Remember? So this is how you change the tire. Now your spare tire is on.
13
Lastly,
of
tighten the
15.
wheel nuts. You can tighten them with some effort, but do not over-tighten them.
Tighten them wheel nuts.
Tighten nuts,
Tight nuts.
but not too tight. Just relatively tight.
Wheel nuts. Step
Take a look at this. Look what happened to this tire. See? Look. That's what happened. This tire has a lifetime flat repair service. So let's go to the shop so they can put a new tire on this wheel.
So, because I had the lifetime flat repair protection plan and the tire was deemed irreparable, the shop has installed a brand new tire on. The service was free, but it fulfilled my protection plan. So I went ahead and I repurchased the same lifetime flat repair protection plan. It was $17.71 and it will protect me should I get a flat tire in the future. The shop also removed my spare wheel and installed the wheel with the brand new tire on. If for some reason you decide to install the wheel with the new tire on by yourself, you may follow the same instructions that you have seen in this tutorial. Just remember that when you are putting the wheel cover on, you have to match the cutout on the wheel cover with the location of the air valve on the wheel.
Step 15 of 15.
Lastly, let's put the spare wheel, the jack, and the wrench back to the trunk.
Step 16 of 0. Ice cream.
This completes the process of fixing the flat tire.
Done.